Welcome to Your Story, guys. And I've got a special announcement to make today, and it's a very important announcement. SaaS is my favorite industry. According to Gartner, it's a $150 billion size industry. I've got some industry leaders who are here to announce something special to take care of you during the pandemic. It is something that is needed. I've got Manav Garg of Eka Software, founder. I've got Vinod Muthukrishna, who's from Cisco now, but of Cloud Cherry, formerly, which was acquired by Cisco. I have Pallav with me from Fusion Charts. Guys, welcome. Welcome to the show. Thank you for doing this with Your Story. How are you guys?
Good. Can't complain.
Can't complain. Yes, I think so. And we spoke about the pandemic. What's happening on the ground for you guys before we move on to the announcement?
I think in our case, I think the first was obviously the employee safety. Since we cater to essential sectors in food, supply chain, innovators, so actually we started work from home in February last week. We've also moved all our clients, obviously cloud, but the remote implementation was a different change management for the clients as well. So far so good. So I think it is business continuity planning in full fledged, and now it's the new normal.
Okay, Vinod, you want to tell us what's happening on your side of the planet?
So, California was obviously pretty progressive in terms of how soon we reacted to the crisis. We started working from home, I think, early March. And most counties enforced a quasi shutdown fairly early. So working from home, we really can't complain, to be honest, right? Because we work remote. We have access to all the tools and all the infrastructure we need to sustain work from home. So we're safe. We're working from home, and we are fortunate enough to be able to see through this pandemic. So I really can't complain.
Pallav, what about Fusion Charts? What's it up to?
Well, we exited the business about last month. So the employees are working from home. They're in the transition process. And more or less, we have been a remote working company. I mean, sitting in India, we were selling to US customers. So if we can sell to US, we can definitely build remote. So that has been the culture. So as of now, like Manav said, employee safety is the first. But the good thing is most of the parts of the business are business as usual. And in some cases, it's actually going better than what we saw earlier.
Absolutely. And SaaS is a very sticky business, but customers are renegotiating. We have so many entrepreneurs who are in need of finance, and I want you guys to make the announcement before we start nitpicking on the details. Who's going to take this?
Manav, I think you should be the one to talk about this.
Okay, sure. So basically, the idea of this, Avinash, Pallav, Vinod, and I were chatting about the SaaS, and Grisha did one webinar on weathering through the storm for SaaS companies. In many ways, SaaS companies are very fortunate because we have a subscription-based cash flows coming in. Yes, depending upon industry to industry, there is a variation of 20 to 30% in those cash flows. But we found that this industry is very new. If you look at 1,000+ SaaS companies that we are in, most of the entrepreneurs are in late 20s or early 30s. They have not seen even a 2008 downturn, leave alone a pandemic of this scale, which is once in a 100-year kind of an event. So the financial discipline was very much oriented by equity investment, always focus on growth. A SaaS company invests about 50-60% of their money on sales and marketing. But now times have certainly changed. So we thought, let's come together. So idea started by saying, okay, how can we create a narrative for the industry where we pull in our experience and help the companies in getting through this through a financial discipline. So the structure is basically safety, sustainability, and then growth, right? So first, obviously, I think safety was very easy part. I think everybody is on cloud, on GitHub, or other forms of cloud check-in software. So they moved very quickly. And the second part is, it's the survival or sustainability of the business. That is where we got focused on. So therefore, we thought now, since what is the biggest advantage that SaaS companies have got? It is the incoming revenues. Because customer uses for mission critical software, they use this to manage their supply chain, they use to manage their support, CRM, customer success, and all kind of events. Given that we have, as an industry, have a great revenue or a cash flow source, let's try to come out with something which is in favor of the financial institution, which we are launching today, where we are applying a concept of working capital loan to a SaaS industry. The biggest difference is this loan is not a secured loan against a collateral or a home a lot of entrepreneurs are first generation entrepreneurs. They do not have the assets to back it up. But the biggest asset they have is the cash collections that are coming in. So therefore, this SaaS Bhumi debt fund is structured in like a platform where all of us are working as a pro bono. So on one side, we have financial institutions like NBFCs. In the first phase, we have tied with Indify, who's going to provide the working capital loan. On this side, we have entrepreneurs. So we'll make entrepreneurs apply to SaaS Bhumi. Then 3 of us, along with other mentors, and we'll involve more mentors from SaaS ecosystem, will help companies go through that financial discipline. So for example, you're a SaaS company getting $1 million revenue. So all revenue obviously is not going to go into cash flow, given some customers are going to ask for a discount. Some customers are saying my business is not doing well. So let's say you get $700,000 in your bank. So that $700,000 now can be utilized to survive and obviously grow sustainability as people come out of this COVID. So now the question was, how do you going to manage the $700,000 of expenditure? So what we found out that a lot of companies can really survive and grow. So we are going to give, through a financial partner, a percentage of the $700,000 as in debt, which they can pay over 12 to 24 months time. So basically the idea in nutshell is a debt fund to help companies survive and sustain for the next 12 to 36 months and come out stronger on the other side.
Okay, and like I said, it's revenue financing, like we spoke about earlier. And do I need to have cash in bank to qualify for this, funding?
So the minimum qualification is $250,000 of annual recurring revenue.
Okay, that's a measure that is compulsory. You need, and so
Yes.
I can fill it up on a form. I can come to the SaaS Bhumi website, fill it up on a form, and a bunch of people will curate it and get back to us, right?
Correct. So what we are aiming for is speed and certainty and the standardization of process.
Okay, and by standardization, I mean, others can take this question too. Will there be a panel sitting to take this, take the number of people who will apply? Probably there'll be a lot of people once the story comes out, they'll start applying. What are the essentials? What is the to-do list to apply for this debt fund?
Pallav, you want to take this?
Sure. So essentially, you're looking at, like Manav said, the first thing is you need to have $250,000 in
Yes.
ARR, which should not include services revenue because that's not your typical SaaS services revenue. So it's predictable recurring revenue from the product so that there's some certainty in your revenue stream. Depending on where you are with your financial docs. So it's like very basic sense of understanding of your top industries, top customer cohorts, understanding your direct cost, indirect cost, how much you spend in marketing, getting these basic financial metrics in a single Excel sheet so that we are able to get a single number, what is your contribution margin, and figure out what kind of runway do you need to be able to get past that stage where you can survive on your own. And based on that, based on these metrics, the NBFC like Indify, the first one that we have partnered with, one of our financial partners right now, they will be estimating what kind of range of interest rate to be applied and what would be the duration of that loan payment. We do estimate that for the first 3 to 6 months, there would not be any payments required by the startup because that's the minimum amount of runway they need without adding any additional stress on their cash flow. But post that, there will be repayment schedules around that. So A, for startups to have 250K ARR, B, no services revenue, C, getting this basic financial metrics in place, then sending it over to us where we will look at this at a very high level, pass it on to, curate it, and then pass it on to our financial partners, and then essentially helping them with running the process very fast. So what the financial partners do, that is up to them. But the standardization, what we are working on is basically think of that as a common term sheet which applies to all the startups Absolutely. That we are working with, so that there are no extremes and we can move things faster.
Okay, just want to know the name of the NBFC. Is it okay to mention their name? Is it all right?
Yes, it's fine.
What's the name of the NBFC again?
Indify.
Okay. I hope once you guys curate it and it goes to the NBFC, I hope startups don't run into bureaucracy, because a lot of people have been complaining to me that there are some platforms that have already launched something, but in other industries, they're running into bureaucratic problems. That's something that you guys are going to avoid?
Vinod, do you want to take this?
Yeah, of course. So there's two parts to this, right? There's some elements of compliance that need to be done. The reason we put a 10 to 12 day processing is because, look, for Manav, Avinash, Pallav and I, this is not a financial venture. right?
Mm.
We're just trying to use our deep understanding of our ecosystem and entrepreneurs to connect them to capital, right? So there is an element of curation involved from us, right? There is a bit of faith that we put into that process and connect that startup and say, look, in 10 to 12 days, good or bad, yes or no, make that decision, right? So the bureaucracy typically comes in, the impact of bureaucracy is you don't know where is the end of that, right? You don't know where the process is. We're saying in 10 to 12 days, one way or other, you'll know the answer, right? So transparency and trust are the two elements of this really, that will be transparent, will be fast, and there'll be an element of trust. We are actually taking a leap of faith because 10 to 12 days is no time to do a complete diligence, right? So there's some leap of faith on both sides, and that's really what we're trying to enable because we know the startup ecosystem through SaaS Boomi well enough.
Okay.
So if I may also add here, I think what the real value add as SaaS Boomi ecosystem we're doing is institutionalizing the financial discipline. The reason that the banks or NBFC are not able to fund in a certain fashion because financial discipline is a core problem, right? If there's a financial discipline, a bank can see or NBFC can see the money is coming in, I don't think there'll be any issue for a SaaS industry as such. So this initiative actually is a larger initiative which I think will have a longer term benefit, which will be institutionalizing the financial discipline in the startups.
Look,
and also the fact. Go on, Vinod.
We should in good times, we don't need any of this, right? The fact is we are in unprecedented times, including the experienced entrepreneurs on this call. None of us have seen an economic condition of this scale, magnitude, and intensity ever, right? So all of us are trying to figure this out as we go along, right? So none of the options are easy. Manav mentioned the need for fiscal discipline. Nobody is going to get easy options out of this hole that we find it ourselves.
Absolutely. You know, the after effects, the after effects of this is you guys are going to protect your community. And that's what SaaS Booming is saying, right? We are here for you. If you guys are financial disciplined, you guys are prudent, and you guys have good customers, we will take care of you. And that's very important for any industry out there, right? And I'm proud of you guys for getting together. I mean, can you talk about who else got involved in this? Just the three of you sitting with a committee on SaaS Boomi and deciding that we got to do this. How many partners contributed to this? You know, when I say partners, how many other founders? And what is the timeline? What, you guys must have done this in under 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, so about 10 days actually. So Avinash, along with the three of us have done it. So SaaS Boomi has a governance structure. So at the governing committee, we made an announcement about 10 days back that we're going to do few webinars, which are every week we have a webinar. We started with Weathering Storm, then we had one HR people-oriented webinar. And that time set, and then, you know, Pallav and Vinod very kind to come out and said, you know, we're going to help spend a lot of our time in doing this. So I'm glad within 10 days we have a structure in place, and also a lot of thanks to Indify to step in, and they also moved at equal speed actually. So a lot of background work has also gone with them in coming out with a structure which is in line with the current times. If you look at previous structures, even for debt, everything is focused on growth of 40, 50, 100%. You know, people at 25% growth, nobody will listen to you. So now it's the structure is totally other way around. It is about sustainable growth, survival. So I think Indify has also been very, very good partner in brainstorming and very flexible in coming out with a structure which could work for the industry.
Okay, and people have been saying that if we operate on 15% capacity, it'll be amazing in the pandemic. What advice would you give to, because you brought in mentorship also, right? Say I've lost 85% of my customers, I've got 15%. You know, what advice would you give them? And can I qualify for the mentoring also, or is it mentoring plus debt that I have to take?
So I think I want to take a step back and talk a little bit about the SaaS ecosystem, right? So SaaS, I think, is one of the more fortunate ecosystem to be living in this time. So at least we haven't seen anecdotally or data wise where companies have totally gone down to 10%, even in the core sectors like retail, which is obviously shut for last 45 to 60 days now.
Yes.
What we are seeing is that the revenue churn or the cash flow churn probably is in the range of, you know, from 10 to 40% more if I do a normal distribution curve. So a lot of companies are continuing to getting their cash flows. I think more discipline will be required on how to spend that money.
Okay. And so talk about the mentoring. No, Vinod, because you brought in mentoring. Is that mentoring also while maintaining financial discipline? Yes, I take some money from Indify. And what is the financial discipline? Are there mentors that you'd say that, okay, we've given the startup money, but there's somebody who's going to tell them that, look, this is how you got to repay. You got to be very careful with the runway that you've got. Don't take too many bets. Don't spend enough on marketing. Those kind of things. Some of them might just go and spend money on Facebook and maybe on other avenues to just gain some customers. And in this time, you don't have to do that. Although the CPM costs are low, what would you recommend them in terms of financial prudence?
So first thing, as a SaaS Boomi community, Manav, Pallav will acknowledge that debt funding or not, the mentorship is available even to companies that don't get these funds, right? And I've invested in a few companies. I know Manav and Pallav have, and we speak to 100 other companies that we've not invested in, right? The fact is that mentorship happens irrespective of the funding. But when you do fund, you mentioned 15%. Let's assume you're cutting costs. What costs to cut and what to continue to invest in is critically important, right? As I said, nobody in this call, and I'll be honest, and Manav, Pallav, please correct me if I'm wrong, nobody in this call has seen what we are facing today, right? So we are figuring this out along with the startup. It's not a patronizing mentorship wherein I'm saying, oh, I've done this, I'm going to tell you what to do. We are figuring out in our own lives and businesses. We are learning every day, and we are hoping to share as we learn, right? Funny enough, I'd say we might learn from one startup something that we may share with another, right? So this is really the paid forward initiative, not a top-down mentoring initiative, right? And the only counsel would be know that this will end. This is a phase, right? Now, it may last for 6 months. It may last for 18 months. We don't know. And the companies that emerge on the other side of this in a position to sustain and be able to grow will be the companies 10 years from now you will call the generation defining companies. Our intention is hopefully we can fund some of those, add a small accretive value to the evolution, right? And make sure the good companies last this downturn, right? And as I said, we will figure this out along with them as we go. And I will, even though we say mentorship, that's a very, it's a lot of posturing. We are learning every single day.
I understand. No, you guys are being very candid there, and thank you for clarifying that. I want to know that if these guys apply, they want to. Most of them will ask me, what interest rates will I have to pay at this point of time if I take Manav, we want to take this. Pallav, we want to take this. You're awfully quiet. You have to step in and say something. What are your thoughts?
Sure. So first thing is we're trying to standardize the interest rate range as much as possible so that none of the startups fall into any of the extreme. That being said, it's governed by the NBFC. So we're trying to keep it at structures like venture debt. In venture debt, you only get debt when you also raise equity funding. But here you're getting this only on the basis of your revenues. You don't have to give any collaterals or anything. So while we don't have an exact specific range, but think of that in the range of between 14 to 17 or 14 to 18%, which will be dependent on the quality of the revenue, the size of the revenue, in what would be the repayment cycle, all of those things. But essentially, again, like I said, let's standardize those terms so people know what they're getting into and it doesn't come to them as a surprise.
Okay. Should I be a particular team size? 10 members, 20 members?
I don't think that's even a variable in the entire equation, because whether you're a 2-member team or a 20-member team, as long as you have a good core product, you have recurring revenue, and you can grow and you can survive. This is completely independent of that.
Go on, Vinod. Go on.
I think the point is the recognition that SaaS always entailed the fact that CAC is front-loaded and the payback period is the deficit, right? And companies that are truly living that journey, wherein they've incurred the CAC very profitably, they have a very finite, they know the lifetime value, they understand their payback period. We are really funding that deficit, right? It is really that what we're trying to do. Nothing to expect. Yeah.
Okay, great. And I know a lot of people write to me and say, "What is the size of this debt fund?" There is no size. It's like a number of people apply, and basically the NBFC will decide who to fund or not, right? Manav, you want to take this?
Yeah, so size-wise, do we have a size range in mind to start off? Because it's not unlimited. So we're looking at almost about 40 to 50 crores of corpus in the first phase. So we had that discussion we had with the NBFCs also. And in addition to that, we have, once people got to know about this, I'm talking about NBFC, there are a few financial partners who have been writing into us actually on an organic way. So we're in the process of vetting that. So we're not going to stop with just one NBFC or one financial partners. We are also thinking of, a lot of entrepreneurs have had exits. A lot of angel investors are there, and who may find debt as a better instrument to invest in such
Absolutely.
uncertainty. So we also going to tap that network. We are not finalized details on that side. The whole idea was to get to speed and certainty, as I said. So we're going to launch, like in 10 days, we are launching it now, but we're not stopping it here. We'll continue to work on it and possibly involve more financial partners, NBFCs, AIFs, and individual investors, and increase the corpus as we go forward.
Okay, great answer. My final question to you guys is, when you look at SaaS booming and what it has achieved for Indian SaaS, for Asia SaaS, it's phenomenal. And, if you can give me some data points to put in the story, how many companies are in the range of, say, 1 million and 10 million or 1 million and 5 million and above? I need a data breakup. If one of you can send that to me, I can put it as a table because, I think you guys will decide at what rate.
We have that data. I believe we can email you the data. We actually have an exact split from the last SaaS event that we can mail you after this.
Okay, fantastic. Final advice to entrepreneurs. 5 things that they have to do in the pandemic. Yes, we don't know, but as experienced entrepreneurs, this is what you can do, at least because we've seen at least 3 downturns in our lifetime, financial that is. So tell us that, please. All 3 of you.
Manav will start. Manav and then me. I'll see what things.
Yeah, I say to Pallav should start this, please.
Yeah, Pallav first.
So number 1, forget all the vanity metrics. Be stick to dhanda. C, find a support ecosystem, friends, anything. D, find a hobby, whether it's health or some sports or anything. I think those are the 4 that I can think of. I let Manav and
Manav next. Manav next. I want to learn from both of you before I talk.
I think there are 3 points. I think one is the safety. I think is safety of the employees, and also your health metrics are extremely important. If you are going to stressed out for whatever reason, you may have money but you're stressed out, you're not going to come stronger. You don't have the patience and the energy to build it after it's over. So safety. Second is survival. So I think naturally startup ecosystem entrepreneurs do not think of survival. Kuch ho jayega, somehow something will happen. So I think it has to be structured thinking on survival. And then third, I think, is sustainability. All of us have very short-term memories. We forget very, very quickly, right? So I think sustainability in both making sure that you're not stressed out, you're living a good rounded life, and you're also able to grow the business. I think that's what I would think.
Okay. So 6 employees, and because, I'm telling you, in journalism, it's been a bloodbath. But in the SaaS world, I'm sure that you guys are protecting employees also, right? I just wanted some thoughts there. Manav, anybody, before we move on to Vinod and then.
Yeah, so we have, so in our company, we are a global company with 10 offices and 400 all nationalities. So we haven't done layoffs as such. We told employees that we will not do layoffs because it's very stressful in this environment to go through this. We have obviously work from home has been relatively easier transition. Then from HR side, we have started employee assistance program on stress. We are tied with few apps. There are consultant available online for any stress management. So we are shifting through all the employee basis on that. But the biggest certainty employees wanted, and we have now all hands meeting every 2 weeks and every 4 weeks based on the cohorts. The biggest certainty they want is my job going to be there or not? I think that's the biggest question on everybody's employees' minds. That's what we are saying, So the best thing we have done is we made the business plan transparent to employees, saying we're getting the money, employees, customers are paying, no need to worry, just focus on the business and we'll be through it. And I would say in the end that as a company, we've been very fortunate. We are in the food. We supply to companies like Cargill, Unilever, the software for food supply chain. And we're seeing actually growth, obviously, with those companies because they are at the forefront of providing essential commodities to the world in many ways. So far, so good.
Okay, Pallav, what about you? In terms of what do you think? What should companies do?
So I think it's the same where psychological safety is the most important thing. In our case, because of the exit, we have had to do some realignments. The buyer does not want the entire team. So basically, we are helping them outplace. And fortunately, we are seeing that there's actually a lot of demand in the market. So we are pleasantly surprised that most of our people who we wanted to outplace are getting about 40 to 100% hikes. And now some of them are joking that, damn, we should have done this earlier.
Good. Vinod, leave it to you for past closing remarks, statements. Thank you, Jen.
No, so few thoughts, like in very random order. everyone will tell you where to cut cost. Okay, the contrarians will win, which means the ones who identify avenues of growth in this despondent time will win, right? So my first thought is, while you are doing what everyone else is doing, you win by being a contrarian. Do the cuts, do the austerity, but think about where you can win, where you can grow, right? The second is to recognize that this is not a phase. This is not like the last downturn where something happened. This is going to permanently change the way people, companies, businesses operate, right? Anyone who optimizes for that future is going to win, right? So that's the second thought for me. Third is, obviously you have to be safe. You have to keep your family safe. How you treat your employees, how you treat your customers, how you treat your partners through this period will determine how they feel about you on the way out, right? When things get better. So it doesn't mean you spend money on what you should not be spending money. But even if you're letting go people, please do it in the most humane way possible, right? If you're empathetic to your customers, your partners, and your employees, that will carry you in good stead, because when the market gets into infinite optimism, which it will in, I don't know, 12, 18, 24 months, that is what will differentiate you from everybody else. So those are really the things. Care for your community, think about growth, other than just thinking about austerity, right? And just be around to witness that economic boom that will follow this depression. And
no, I promise you that I'll be around at least to see you guys succeed, and because stories are important, and you guys are very inspiring. Thank you very much. Finally, is there a name for the debt fund that you want to coin on the show?
That was a surprise question. Manav, I'll leave the hard questions to you guys.
No, I think it's a simple SaaS Bhumi. I think SaaS Bhumi is what we're known as. So SaaS Bhumi Debt Fund. I think the whole idea behind is that ecosystem is pay forward with, and we're all there for you, irrespective of funding. So I think we will stick with the SaaS Bhumi Debt, really very simple, saying that we are pay forward community.
Amazing. Guys, thank you very much. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the other side of this. Bye, Vinod, Pallav, Manav.
Vishal, parting thought. The idea of this community is to be like Avinash, okay? Does everything, works behind the scenes, orchestrates everything, involved with everything, not on the interview, right?
Absolutely. A big shout out to all those who do SaaS Bhumi quietly. I know a couple of them, Kingston and others, right, from Freshworks and all the other companies such as OrangeScape and everybody. So thank you. Avinash, you're not here, but you're lovely. Thank you.
Thanks man.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Thanks guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.